Why, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Voice of the Rings. I'm your hosting guide, Zollin Ironshield, and today we're going to be covering the Folly of Kings update 47 notes. I'm going to cover it all here in the release update notes. We're going to go through it. There's a couple big ones, so I'm just going to say it right here off the bat so you know. I want to talk mainly about, we're going to look at the raid stuff a little bit. We're going to look at some of the class update stuff, and we're going to very much cover the Guardian. Both some of the blue changes and the massive amount of red changes. I'm going to tell you the goods and the things that I think are bad personally and what I've heard from people and give you some thoughts here. So again, if any devs watch too, thanks for watching, guys, but I will try to give you, I have one thing too, I want to give a little advice on one thing that I think will really help out with us, the community in general, and it'll make the players. We all know I'm a big fan of the devs of LOTRO. I think they're some of the best devs of any game I've ever played, and they clearly care about the community. So whenever I give kind critiques, it's me trying to be supportive of the game in general and their work. And then obviously I'm also trying to be a voice for the community, my kinship, anyone who plays LOTRO that I've heard. I listen, talk to a lot of different people at the channel now, being a content creator, and some of my own opinions on things as well. So if that all sounds fun, that's what we're going to do today. So if you do enjoy it, even only get here for a few minutes, don't forget to hit like and subscribe on there. It'd be wonderful if you want to support in that way. Let's go through it. So the Folly of Kings is the brand new raid that is dropping. It has already dropped at the time of making this video, and we will be covering it here on the channel. Our group, the Pioneers group, is going to tackle it for the first time and start learning some stuff. It should be an absolute blast. I'm really looking forward to that. You can see a little bit of sneak peek of some of the monsters. We got a couple of the vampire women, or the Marevels, or however you want to say it. And something else back here that looks pretty darn terrifying. But that should be really exciting. I'm really looking forward to that. So let's go through it here. Here are the release notes for Update 47, The Folly of Kings, released on Wednesday, March 4th, 2026. All right. A special note. A new raid has arrived. The Folly of Nakahedi. Hopefully I said that correctly. For 100 years, the Kente elves have battled a mysterious blight, seemingly brought on by the Din of Stone. It has already consumed once beautiful Atticum, and now threatens the rest of the Elven Glades. An investigation by the Rangers, Theron and Ragod, has tracked the source of the blight to the Folly of Nakahedi, but what danger lurks inside the ancient and abandoned wonder? The Folly of Nakahedi is now available at Tier 1, so at the time of this video it's Tier 1, but if you're watching this in a week from now, you can see there, the account owner, you have to have the new expansion, Kingdoms of Rod, is required for access, obviously. Tier 2 opens at noon, on Thursday, March 12th, so a little later, and Tier 3 you can run on March 19th. The Leading the Charge deed that they do for every new raid or instance for the Folly deed will be available until, 3 a.m. Eastern, Thursday, May 14th. And reminder that Leading the Charge deed for the Heradrim instances, the other 2 or 3 that came out recently, that will be gone on March 16th for getting that deed. Okay? The 17th Legendary Item Reward track, little side note here, we'll do this real quick. The newest Legendary Item Reward track is achieved, so hopefully you picked up your last loot. Of course, if you're watching this video, it's a little too late for that. It's already out, but you can start using that, start the next one there. They got a couple cool things. The Mumik Calf Cosmetic Pet looks really, really fun near the end, so I think do your dailies, get stuff done, get to that end track. Gives you a decent amount of time. Let's see, Legendary Item Reward track continues until June 3rd. So at the time of this video coming out, you have a while. All right, news and notes, classes, skills, and traits. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna cover all the classes. I'm gonna speak on it here. I am talking a little faster than I usually talk, so you can always turn it down half speed. But I want to kind of get through this. So I'm going to talk about all the classes and then come to the Guardian at the end. And I have a few things I want to mention before I cover the Guardian, which I will explain. And one of them is my suggestion to the devs about some stuff with communication with certain thing. And I'll explain why in a minute. Okay? All right. Bjornings. Blue line version of Ferocious Roar will now properly bestow the Battle Rage. Okay, so there was a glitch. They fixed it. Cool. Brawlers, come at me now correctly taunts for 5 seconds, so there may have been also a little bit of glitch there. They fixed it. Awesome. Vulnerability now reduces the enemy's critical chance rather than incoming damage. Seems a little bit nerfy, just a tiny bit from my knowledge, but again, I'm not a Brawler main at the moment, and I'm working on learning them myself. So, but is a brawler main. There you go. Strike as one now lasts 15 seconds and grants a larger buff when solo, but a smaller buff when affecting allies. This is interesting. Very interesting change. We'll get to the Guardian in a minute, but they've also done with the Guardian. There's some stuff they're trying to do. And when I explain the changes here, and as we go through, there are three groups that I'm talking for, okay? One is what I've heard from everyone saying what their opinions and feelings of it are, right? The community at large, my kinship, everyone in LOTRO that I've heard, that I've talked to. Can't possibly talk to everyone, but you get my point, the gist. Another one I'm doing is from the perspective of the devs and what I'm guessing they're thinking with things, and the third perspective is my own, what I think on something. That's kind of how I approach these when I cover stuff and tell you guys in my guide videos. So anyway, so I'm trying to be as fair as I can, right? You can't always perfectly be fair in your own mind, right? With when you like have an opinion on something, but I try to do my best to kind of like come at it from all those angles at once when I cover it. The Burglar. Clever retort builders now have a diminishing return. Kind of a bummer. Bloodletters, a lot of these are kind of nerfs, unfortunately, but the Burglar is still very strong. It's not the end of the world. Bloodletter's melee damage buff has been reduced from 3, 6, 1, 2, and 3. I'm not quite sure why. They did a bunch of nerfs on. The Burglar's single target DPS is actually was extremely high and still is. So I think it's mainly just a balancing thing. Burglar damage reduced by 5% overall. That's rough. So I was talking to one of our resident Burglar mains in my kinship, and he is a fantastic player. I'm just going to mention his name. It's Zero Cool. And he has done tier 5 stuff. He is like a lot, really. He was saying it's also disappointing because that affects the Yellowberg too, which the Yellowberg already, it's a support class. It's also DPS. But so it's a balancing thing, but it's a little bit of a bummer, but that's how it goes. Moving on. They just basically were balancing stuff, I guess, according to what be nice if they gave us a little bit more notes on stuff, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Mischievous Delight, once again, restores power to the Fellowship. Okay, maybe that was a glitch. Maybe they took it away originally and they gave it back. Cool, I don't remember that off the top of my head. Captains. Exaltation duration from 2 arms effects has increased from 20 seconds to 35 seconds. So a little bit of a buff there, or balancing, whatever you want to call that. Champion Emboldened Blades at tier 5 will now cause remorseless strikes to hit multiple enemies. That's a huge buff, huge cool. Raging Blades damage has been increased by 25%. Another huge buff for the champion. So champions get a couple nice little things there. Lots with the Guardian. We're going to skip the Guardian for a minute. We're going to jump. Okay, we're going to go to the Hunter. All right. Hunters. Hunter damage reduced by 5%. So little bit of bummer. That's across the board, but Hunters are in a very good spot. They have been hitting like a truck since the rework, which is how they should. That's what they're supposed to be. They're a DPS ranged class, right? So they've reduced that. So a little bit of a nerf there, but it's more of a balancing thing. Like again, same thing with the Berg. Non-blue spec hunters will now be able to build focus while moving using skills that generate +1 focus on use. That is pretty cool. So they gave it back to the red hunter and support hunter to be able to build some focus with some of their abilities. They weren't able to with a little rework they did like 2 weeks ago, or a little longer than that, but yeah. Even if they are starting with 0 focus, focus reduction over time will apply for non-blue spec hunters, but the window is now applied more consistently on the interval rather than immediately when the hunter first gains focus. So there's a little bit of our hunter mains are going to understand that more than the rest of us listening, okay? Explosive decoy now properly explodes. This is for the support hunter more quickly, and it ghosts does not linger to taunt your enemies. Okay, cool. Does not linger to taunt your enemies. So there was a little bit of a thing there, I think, going on. Another tier of hunter reputation has been added. All right, cool. Trying to think what that would mean. Okay, moving on from that. Our hunter resonant mains are going to know what that is. Off the top of my head, reputation has been another tier of hunter. Something in the tree? All right, anyway, moving on. You know what? I think I might have caught something. I think they're talking about the hunter camps, aren't they? No. Maybe that is for the class. Moving on. I'm getting distracted. Lore Masters. Flame of Anor's AoE Wizard's Fire damage no longer hits your current target twice. This was kind of a glitch. It was fun, but it was a little too strong. This was kind of a glitch. So that's just kind of a fix. You were getting like extra damage from the AoE on the same target. Searing Embers damage reduced by 10%. Murder. Oh, so the funny thing is here in the notes, I thought the Lore Master got a 5% damage reduction overall, and I do not see that in the notes here. I saw that was going to be the notes from 3 weeks ago when they were doing the tests on Borora, So did they not get a 5% damage? I thought they were also going to get that like the Hunter and the Berg. I don't know if they forgot to put it here, or if that did happen, or maybe they didn't do that. Maybe they just reduced the Ember's damage. Murder's Crow, which is for the support, the blue line, lore master, pet lore master. The potency has been increased from 25 to 30%. Cooldown is also longer though, so it's more like Oathies now, Oathbreakers, but it also has an equivalently longer cooldown. The duration is reduced from 20 seconds to 17. A little bit of a sad but random nerf there. I don't know why the end part. These ones make sense to me though. Major command, that's just my own opinion. 2 arms buff potential increase. So this is something with pets when you use your major command. We're not going to explain everything because it'll turn the video into hours. Okay. I will give you basic explanations as we go. Mariner. Buoying winds. I don't think I said that right. Potency reduced from 5% to 2.5. We got a little bit of a nerf there. Okay. West Wind's cooldown is reduced from 10 seconds. There's a little bit of a buff. Dramatic flourish effect, imitating a Master of War buff potential, has been reduced from 25% to 10%. So this is something you're going to see across the board. They did this they're doing this to they did this to the Guardian, the Mariner, and the Brawler. A lot of the buffs that like tanks can give, or like not direct supports, have been lowered in damage buff potential. Why did they do that? It must be a balancing thing. I really wish they'd give notes on that, but you know, that's what's going on. Having your balance forcibly reset to neutral now applies a short debuff of negative incoming healing. Ooh, bummer. And 10% and 10% incoming damage for 4 seconds. Yikes, rather than stunning you. Oh, that's a two-edged sword. That's a buff and a nerf. So basically, instead of being stunned by not balancing, you're suddenly not able to be healed very good, and you take 10% more damage for 4 seconds. I don't know. I think that's a nice update for the Mariner. Honestly, I think it's kind of nice. I like it. I think it's a cool difference. Stumbling 4 wins mischance penalty has been removed and has been replaced with -3 mitigation. Oh, interesting. Okay, so the mitigations these are the ones that stack from every class, I believe. And I don't think they had one. So they got rid of a different mischance thing that they gave the target, which I'm going to have to say I would say overall that's a nerf, because a mischance for a boss is pretty good for you to have a more chance not to hit. But, you know, 3% mitigation means now everyone does more damage to the boss and kills it faster. So, and that stacks with the other classes. So maybe that's what they're trying to get at. We're going to go into Minstrel, but I want to pause for a moment just to explain something that I do see the devs working on very hard. They are working very hard to balance class roles, like roles with everything, so that every class has a role and you don't have the hinge thing of basically like, oh, we really need this class because of this one ability. Like, we can't run the raid without this class. What they really want is they want you to pick your 2 tanks, pick your 2 healers, and pick your DPS, and have a support, right? They really want there to be the roles, and they don't want it to be like, well, you know, we really need a minstrel, you know, for that call to greatness, how they changed it, over a healing Bjorning or a healing captain, or like things like that. Not to say that minstrel healers aren't still preferable. They're very strong and very good. It's not an insult to minstrels. The point of me saying that is they are working to make it where you need to just pick your role fills, and you don't want to have lots of copies of the same classes. They want to have the uniqueness of having like one of every class in the raid if possible. But at the same time, they want to really keep it to, you just have to pick 2 tanks, you have to pick 2 healers, you need a support, you need DPS classes. They don't really want to make it where like you're hinge it on this run, you have to have this class to run this raid. Now, I worry with that to an extent, just personal thought on that it's going to make some more and more classes feel like they don't have specialties, because it is kind of cool when you have something special, and I'll get into more of that in a minute when we talk about the Guardian on things. But I understand from the point is that you don't want to make it where it feels like you can't bring one class because, you know, oh, this other class is just too much better at that role, so we don't want you, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Minstrels, real fast. Court of Salvation is no longer immediate. When in dissonance or melody stance, chord remains immediate in resonance. So only if you're in healing stance is it immediate. The other ones have an induction now. A little bit of a nerf. Bummer. Improved Chord of Salvation skill tooltip has been cleared up slightly, and its AoE effects now have a range of 20 meters. That seems like a little bit of a quality of life fix and a little bit better AoE. Chord of My Salvation healing increased by 50%. So that's a buff. So they buffed its healing a bunch, which is, again, the Minstrel was struggling a little bit in the previous cap with having as much healing as like a Rune Keeper had. So this is good. This was needed. A little bit of buffs on them for that. So if you're in healing, you could still just use it immediately too. So really, why would you need to be using it immediately where your DB is anyway? Right. So this is totally pretty much overall a buff, I think, for Minstrel. Rune Keepers got a buff here on some stuff, but let me explain it. So the trait Scathing Retort that's in the tree now causes Smoldering Wrath to burn faster and tear Writ of Fire down to deal bonus damage. Okay, Writ of Fire is their little stacking fire. It stacks 3 times, I believe. And it will tear that down, make Smoldering Wrath faster, and do that extra damage. That is something that the previous armor set for Fire Runekeepers gave the level 150 cap. And since they did a rework recently, where they made it where that one skill doesn't let Runekeepers do a little magical double tap, meaning they could get 2 skills in for free, because it was kind of a glitch. It was supposed to only give 1 induction for free. It was giving 2. The problem is they kind of had balanced the Runekeeper around that with damage. So the moment they removed that glitch, suddenly the Runekeepers lost a bunch of damage. So what they thought to do is, well, that thing from the previous armor set that gave them a huge damage increase, let's give them that naturally in their tree. So that's what they did. So this is a big buff. A little bit more frustrating for Runekeepers to do a little extra work in the rotation, but overall this is a buff. So cool for Runekeepers. Arcade's really needed it. Fire Ridicule no longer has an induction. This is really cool. This is a huge buff, but you really have to, depending on this next part. Fire Ridicule can no longer target multiple enemies with the max rank of Conflation of Runes. So is it only going to stay a single target? I don't remember that off the top of my head, so it might just be only a single target. So what they're doing here is they're getting rid of an extra thing you always have to put on there. Really, it takes a lot of work with another induction, because they want to be able to give you the option of having more Writ of Fire time to cast that more often for your Smolder, for your AoE rotation, your fire rotation. And they're definitely leaning more into Arcade's being fire burning down monsters of bosses when they're in fire. It doesn't mean they won't still have some decent AoE fire abilities, but removing this one will basically make it where it's just better for that one. Now, it might be with max rank, I think so. Basically, it's going to be single target, I believe, is what I really wish they put in parentheses. It's going to be single target. But for our Runekeeper mains, they'll understand that a little bit more, but off the top of my head. So overall, Runekeeper, big buff. Cool. Moving on. We're doing pretty good on time here. Thank you for still watching. If you're still here, I appreciate it. Hopefully this is helpful to you guys. Please leave some comments and tell me, does this help you for me to cover the update notes? Do you guys like to hear me talk them out and explain basic things? Let me know in the comments. I really appreciate it. Warden damage increases by 5%. This is for Wardens. This is awesome. Just across the board buff. Cool. Awesome. This new 160 expansion has been fantastic for Wardens. They are far more viable than they were at 150. And the reason for that is how the raids work. The raids previously didn't really allow you to block and parry and evade. And that's what Wardens are. That's their thing. They block, parry, and evade. And now a lot of the bosses I've noticed have been able to block, parry, and evade most of their stuff, which is awesome. And for those DPS Wardens, cool. And also this 5% damage increase helps them hold aggro, which you can see here. They also have a 10% damage from shield gambits. It's to help them hold aggro even more, which, as the resident Warden made in our group, which is Rataldo. Thanks, Rataldo, for being a Patreon, by the way. But one of our great kinship members, he is probably our best tank main Warden. We have a couple of people that play Wardens and tank who are very good too, but he's the one that that's all he plays. That's his thing. He used to be a minstrel main too. He still has many, but he likes the Warden. This is really good. Wardens needed some love. This is awesome. 20 to 40% damage for Wall of Steel and Boar Rush Lime. So again, a little bit more buffs there, I believe. Wall of Steel and Boar Rush shows you how much this is probably the least known stuff I know about a class, but I do know some. Boar Rush Gambits now have a short diminishing return effect, so a little bit of a bummer, but lower their damage if the same Gambit is used multiple times in a short period. Okay. So that might be a balancing thing. That seems kind of like, Yeah, I'm not sure what that one off the top of my head. Shield up, Ready Blade, and Shield Master Gambits all now deal AoE damage. That is cool. So they gave them AoE. So recently they gave the Guardian shield swipe instead of single target. It now hits multiple targets. They're clearly doing that for the Warden as well. Awesome. One DOT, dots basically dot over time, just so you guys know, damage over time ability. Pulse from all gambits in Spear, Virtues, Fate, Gambit. That's cool. So they last longer, a little easier to keep your stacks up your bleeds for the DPS ones. Cool. The Warden's Triumphant Gambit has been removed. Interesting. Its effects are now always actively passive when the Warden Triumph. I mean, that's a buff. Just you have them all the time. Cool. Determination specific threat effects have been improved on several gambits. Cool. Awesome. All right, so now there's a couple more things down here we will go over, but I would like to now talk about real fast the Guardian. This is the big one for me. We got it right at 20 minutes. This is awesome for the video. So we are going to be talking about the Guardian. Now, the first thing I want to just explain real fast that I really, 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 really think is important, and it's a recommendation, talk to any of the devs who see this, is that I really think that there needs to be a little bit more explanation. I love it that they've been adding more stuff into the official main Lord of the Rings Discord. I know that Cordovan has really been working on that, and, you know, props. That's awesome. That's really good. It lets us have more conversation. But I know that the devs truly like to have input from the players. They're all really good devs. And I know they probably have a lot on their plate, so it's hard to get where they can have like communications right all the time and things like that. And they're not obligated to do any of this because that's not their job. I get it. But I think what really, really, really help is if they would just leave some notes connected to why they did a change. Not even like a lot. You don't need to write a book. Just little bits just to help out the community to know why you changed something or took something in a way that maybe a lot of us thought was fun. And I'll explain that in a minute. There are some very good changes they did to the blue line. There are a few blue changes that I'm like, okay, I understand, but I'm very disappointed. And there's one or two things that I'm just like, why? But that's my personal opinion on it. But I would like to know the why. It's one thing to just tell us the changes you did. And it's another thing to be like, we did it because we're trying to focus on this as all classes, whatever their reasoning, right? And some people are not going to like that still, but the bottom line is the LOTRO community is great. Most of us are going to go, okay, we get it, right? That's going to be 95% of the LOTRO community. You're never going to make everyone happy. I understand that. But you will make a lot more people happy if you add those little notes. Because I think right now what happens is you get a very large spike of people very unhappy when something randomly happens. And here's the point. In the previous notes, they did not make it clear that with the change they made on something that was good, that it was going to remove something that was very fun and powerful on the Guardian. They removed the Guardian's ability to use fellowship maneuvers with their blue line. This feels really bad, personally. I'm bummed about it. But from the perspective of the devs, with not knowing their logic or reasoning on this, I assume, this is what I'm trying to be thinking from their perspective, that they feel that only support classes should have fellowship maneuvers, and that maybe it was too strong that the Guardian had a fellowship maneuver, and they're really trying to balance out roles, and they want kind of all the tanks to be similar because they've really been working at that recently. But the issue was they didn't even really put that information in the notes. Now, I did a video on it about a month ago, and I even said in that video, wait a second, so if they're changing and they're moving break ranks to stabbing, smashing, stab. You can see the comment here. If they're changing that, does that mean they're going to remove the fellowship maneuver? They don't even say it here, but it said something about they will now be exclusive. It didn't actually say, but their fellowship maneuver will be removed. It never said that in words. So that wasn't even there. So it was just a surprise to 95% of the community. Now, some of us, like myself, was guessing, wait, are they going to remove it because of that other wording? But that doesn't really give us 100%. So it's just like it said, it was like, surprise, you all lost your fellowship maneuver, right? And that, of course, for me personally, I had to sit and think about it for a while from the perspective of the devs, because at first I was just annoyed. I was like, I love my fellowship maneuver. That's what, it's so unique and cool about the Guardian. And then I sat there and thought, okay, I'm like, well, maybe they're trying to balance, so every tank is unique and stuff like that. And the thing is, too, I think that, you know, some people have said to me, well, maybe that was too strong, and then it made certain people feel like, oh, well, you have to take a Guardian because that ability is too powerful. Same example I gave with the minstrel thing. I get that argument. I get it. Now, personally, I think there does need to be specialties to classes. So Guardians having that, I feel like, is cool. I think what would have been better is to move a different skill and make it a very long cooldown. Make it a 2-minute, 3-minute cooldown. That they could still do it. But, or, you know, if they feel it's unfair, let more tanks have that ability in tank line. Right? But again, that gets more and more complicated. But anyway, bottom line is I'm getting distracted. Back to my main point and my suggestion to the devs is you put a little link even when you do those notes, even if it's for Borora, to our thoughts on certain things, right? It'd be nice if it was right next to every single one of these lines, but I understand that's a lot of words to put on. There's already a lot of words here. Put a little link down there and say, come to our discussions in Discord or here or that, and we will do a little explanation why we did every change and what our goal was. And it doesn't have to be a book. It doesn't have to be a book. It can literally just be, we removed the FM ability because we felt like it was too strong for only the Guardian tank to have, and we really wanted to be focused on only yellow support classes. That's perfect. That would be just enough. But I'm left guessing as a content creator to tell the community, and the community is left guessing. Why was it just removed? And not only do we not have that little extra note, which is what I'm recommending they put, they didn't even tell us they were removing it. They was like in the like lingo, it wasn't directly said we're removing the FM. It was just like, you're gonna have to guess if it's removed. I literally guessed in the video. I was right, unfortunately. But still, if I am someone who's been playing a Guardian for 18 years and playing this game for 18 years, and I can't figure it out from those notes, there's very few other people that are going to guess it too. Maybe like 10% of us in the community would be able to guess they're removing it. And again, it feels bad when you don't know what's coming then, or you don't know why they did it. All right. So that is my suggestion. Now we're going to talk about the Guardian. There are good things here, amazing things. I got to give props to the devs. The Red Guardian update, as much as there's a little bit of clunkiness to it, their damage is way up. And they're really trying really hard, I'm telling you. The devs, I can tell. Again, I haven't heard this straight from them or any notes, which would be nice to know. But they really are trying to balance the whole system on roles. So we want everybody to have two options to play. Guardians have really never had the option to be a DPS in instances in raids in the last like 4 or 5 expansions, level caps, because they just don't do enough damage. And it's not that players are bad. It's the fact that they literally just don't have the mathematical numbers in their kit to do the damage, even with the best gear. Now I think they do. So that's a huge, awesome thing. And blue guards are still going to be amazing. They're still going to be like one of the best tanks, but they're more reasonably good with everything else because they did a couple nerfs on their range and a couple things with utility because they just had so much. They still have so much, but I think it's fair because the Guardian is kind of a main tank. That's the class, right? So let me go ahead and go through the Guardian. Thank you for listening. If the devs did listen to my little thing there, I appreciate it. But I really recommend just putting notes, even if it is a link in your thing at the bottom, even a link, and say, here's some comments on why we did some of the changes on this class, and link us to something else, right? I mean, it might take, maybe take someone 20, 30 minutes to write a couple examples to the major changes. We don't care about the little changes, right? If it's like, oh, well, we changed this by 2 seconds. I don't think most people care. But when it comes to things like what we're removing 5% damage from burglars across the board. Okay, is there so they're doing too much damage? Is there a baseline? Because I've never heard of a baseline, what they're shooting for with damage. I would love to know what that is from the devs. Like, what is your baseline for a DPS? And how do you keep them special every class, but at the same time make it where you can interchangeably have any DPS class? Right? Does that make sense? I'm getting a little too wordy. Let's get into talking about Guardians, because there's some good stuff here and some, I think, not so good stuff. But the most of it is good. I would say most of it is good. So, good job, devs. Guardian, note. Guardian's save trait trees have been reset because we get some big changes. Okay, obviously. Charge effects are no longer removed when executing an attack while using the trait Defender of the Free. This is awesome because that was a change they did last time. The last patch, they did a mini Guardian update like 3 weeks ago, and some of it was just like, what is going on with the Red Guardian? And now they've really committed to the Red Guardian. They made it better. So that's a good change because that was annoying. There was a change previously. Shield Wall will no longer remove or block the use of protection by the sword. This is very, very cool. That's cool. So technically, if you had a shield on in Redline, I don't know why you would. Usually you have two-hand if you're DPSing, but let's say you're playing with your friend and you're in Redline and you have a shield, so you can shield wall him on the open field. Cool. All right, I like that. We have increased the range on the defense portion of Protection by the Sword by 60 meters. Thank you. I literally said this in the previous patch, so I'm sure other people said it too. It's not just me, but if you heard me, thank you, thank you. We wanted that. The parry response effect will only trigger on protection within 20 meters still. Totally fair. Totally good. Now you just don't have to re-trigger it every time someone walks 20 meters away from you. But so cool. Awesome. Stamp now earned at level 16. A little bit of a difference there with the interrupt. Challenge is now granted by specializing in the Defender of the Tree. So you can no longer have challenge in Redline. That's the AoE mass taunt. That seems justified because, again, they're trying to, keep things. You still have your 2 single taunts. So you can still save the day, temporarily grab the boss if your tank is being revived or something. But yeah, so that seems totally fine. You don't want the DPS Guardian pulling all the ads off the tank anyway. So that's fine. Fray the Edge cooldown increased by 30 seconds. This is quite a nerf, but again, it's just to balance, to be a little bit more close. They're trying to make the Guardians' abilities very more similar to like the Bjorning, Brawler, and Captain. The Guardians are still probably the best at these things, so they kept them specialized still to an extent, but they're trying to balance it with the other classes. So I think it's fair. As a Guardian main, does it hurt me? Oh, my heart! Yes, of course it does. But, I'm fair about things too, and I do play most of the classes, so I understand. Fray the Edge cooldown is now reduced by 15 seconds when especially in Defender of the Free. So this is cool. So it's better when you are in tank. So, cool. It just is longer when you're in Redline, which totally fair. The Deterioration trait has been removed. This trait was kind of useless. I thought it was cool. Honestly, I think they should just throw it in as a passive. Like, not even make it a trait point. Just put it as a passive. Because it didn't really do that much anyway. It just made crit damage from bosses less for like 7.5%. It was like, okay. Smashing Strike, formerly Smashing Stab. Okay, they changed the name. This is going to take me a year to remember that in my brain, but that's life. Is now granted at level 34. Okay. Smashing Strike bonus effects are now mutually exclusive. This is the comment that they originally didn't even put in the other one. So right here at the end, so if I were the devs with this, Smashing Strike bonus effects are now mutually exclusive. Smashing Strike must be used directly after either Shield Swipe or Retaliation in order to gain a bonus effect. And then I would put in parentheses, will no longer cause fellowship maneuvers. All right. That's what I would have done. But this is like most people would not get this. And most people didn't. Just so you know, I talked to a lot of people on the server and my kinship. Nobody knew that was coming. I guessed with some of their wording in the previous thing a few months ago, like I said, but this is not, this is very, I'm not no insult, but this is very poor wording. Okay, this is very poor to be able to understand that. Smashing Strike can now be used while wielding a two-handed weapon. This is kind of cool. You could do the bleed or the knock. I think the stun, is it a knockdown or I forget which one it does. Smashing Strike's bleed now pulses every 3 seconds rather than every 2 seconds. So a little bit of a longer duration. This is something that I will be making new guides on both the Tank Guard and the DBS Guard once I feel confident in making it. This is a very, very good, big props to the devs on this one. I love this one. The Breaking Ranks effect is now applied by Smashing Strike rather than Shield Taunt. You can spam your Shield Taunt now. That is something that drove all of us Guardian mains crazy. Huge bonus. Now, losing our Fellowship Maneuver to put it on that skill, kind of a damper. To kind of just makes that awesome change a little less awesome. But again, I understand it was a balancing thing. I think. Again, I don't know because the devs didn't put any notes on why they did it. But anyway, moving on. This is a little bit of a joke, but you guys get the giggle. Hopefully the devs laugh too if you're watching. The Shield Spikes trait has been decoupled from consumable spikes and now always benefits shield skills regardless of spike consumables. This is cool. It's awesome. So you can still use shield spikes to get more benefits, but you also have this. So you could probably do some more fun like damage build shield hits, which damage for tanks actually how you hold aggro better now with how the rework of threat works. So that's kind of cool. Protection by the sword no longer grants an auto crit to the user. All right, I have to talk about this just a wee bit. This was super unreliable when they added this, but they removed the automatic crit from charge, that you got a free crit whenever you wanted it. Personally, if I were them, they took away the automatic crit from 3 weeks ago. on that, then put it on this. And then they were like, this isn't very good. They only had it for like 2 weeks. They're like, let's change it. And then they didn't give us back the crit. So it was like, they're like, here, take this thing that's not as good, but now we're taking that too. So that's a little bit of a frustrating thing. Me personally, I really like the having an automatic stun not stun, an automatic crit when I wanted it. But they did some other things that balanced it out when it comes to damage, because the DPS is way better. So not the end of the world. And your crits are still pretty amazing on the Guardian. They're like the best critters in the game. So we'll get there. So again, not the end of the world. But yes, this was unreliable and kind of silly. But you know, it was a cool idea. I got to give props to the dev, whoever thought of it. It was a very interesting idea because it did work well with how the Guardians' reactions work when they're using their protection skills on someone. So it was a cool idea. Shield Smash no longer stuns foes. Okay, this is just like across the board. Every single Guardian I've talked to, like every single Guardian is annoyed about this. Like every single one. I haven't had one Guardian made yet. I've talked to like 12 that were like, oh yeah, I'm glad they removed that. Everyone's annoyed. Now, let me give you the reason. I'm going to give you the dev side. No, they have not given us an explanation to why. This is where the explanation would be really good, devs. But I'm gonna stick up for the devs here, and I'm gonna explain why they did this. Okay, I don't like it, but why they did it. The devs did this because Shield Smash hit a large amount of targets. I think you can hit up to 11 if you have the legendary target thing. It causes all of those targets to be hit to get the 10-second stun immunity, like every NPC gets when you stun them. This can be very bad in raids. This could really mess things up in raids. If you interrupts or things like that, and you want to mass support wants to mass stun something, and now they can't because they have stun immunity, that could be very bad. So that's why I think the devs did it. That's why. That's my one thing in support of the devs. Now, for my own personal opinions on this, okay? This is really like something that's a core Guardian thing. This should be put back. But how do you put it back? You put it back by putting 1 point in the tree, in blue tree, 1 point, little extra one. Maybe like, where they removed this, the disorienting trait, that was just 1 point there. Maybe just put in that spot instead, since they removed it anyway on the tree panel. Put in, if you trait this, Shield Smash will stun foes. You could take it off and on if you don't want it in a raid because it's too powerful. Too problematic in the raid for stuns. Just don't trade it. Problem solved. Ta-da! That's what I personally think they should have done. I think this is a core thing. I know many people who just solo in blue line with Guardian. They're very upset about this. I know this was really, really good for Guardians when they were running 3-mans or 6-mans. It really is helpful to help the stun. I know you're thinking, well, Zollin, Shield Smash will still do interrupts. Yes, it will. So it'll still be very powerful in that way. But sometimes when you're taking a lot of damage from like 5, 6, 7, 8 adds, landing a stun on them for 2 seconds or 3 seconds, I think it was 3 seconds, all of them, gives your healer a nice little window to catch you back up on health, right? Or to help, something like that. So it was really, really nice. I do not think it was overpowered at all. But now I just think it's kind of disappointing because it felt like a very core thing of the Guardian and blue line. So I'm not sure. Another argument I guess the devs could be doing, does it cause a lot of lag to stun that many targets? Does it cause lag? Is that something? Again, if they wrote a little note explaining, this skill we think causes a lot of lag and also it messes up a lot of stuff in raids, so we decided to completely remove it. We didn't just put it in the trade. Something that enough would be enough for me to go, okay, I understand. Again, part of me understands as someone who wants to be fair to the devs and the balancing team. The other part of me is like, that is a core Guardian thing, and like every Guardian I've talked to is annoyed that it's gone. Okay? So if I were the devs, I would do, my personal thought on it is put 1 point in the tree and make it where you turn it off and on. That's my opinion on it. I don't think that's overpowered. I think that's what they should do. Unless it's a lag thing, then tell us that. That's my personal thought on it. To the King can no longer knock down foes. Why do you keep taking stuff away from my To the King? It's my favorite skill. All right, so this is a similar issue to the Shield Smash. I don't think it is as class breaking as moving the stun on the Shield Smash, because the Shield Smash was so iconic. But To the King has always been able to stun or knock down of foes. In the past, many expansions ago, it could even open fellowship maneuvers by chance, which was really, really cool. Removing this is a no-no in my book. I can't think of any reason why they would remove it, unless they just felt like it was too powerful in like PvP. But if that's the issue, just change it for PvP only. Because they do that with skills. Things change when you get into PvP that change slightly. I'm in the boat of please give to the king back its knockdown, or at least a stun. Give it back, because that's cool. And also you could use it on top of, if you stun someone with force open, then you could use this to do a knockdown, and it worked on the single ad. It doesn't work on bosses, so who cares, right? But that was really cool. I really like that. So again, both of those are a little bit more of a disappointment to me, and I'm just giving you my opinions and thoughts on it, my own personal opinions. I cannot think of a really good defense for this from a balancing perspective for the devs, if I'm trying to be fair, except for, was it a problem in PvP? Or was it causing some kind of lag? That's the only, like... If there's another reason, devs, if you want to leave you can even leave a comment on the video. I'd love to know. I'll give it a heart. If there's another reason why you remove that, please explain. But that's just kind of a disappointment. Again, these are core things in Red Line and in Blue Line that felt so iconic with the Guardian. And I've talked to literally, like I said, 10 or 12 Guardian mains already who have said the exact same thing as me. And these are Guardian mains that are like casual players up to like pro level rating tier 3+, right? They all felt like this. Okay. And again, I noticed they did this with the red brawler too. They got rid of their knockup, right? With To the Sky, which is one of the coolest brawler abilities. Bring that back too, okay? I'm going to keep saying this on the channel. I'm going to keep saying it. Everyone give a thumbs up and leave a chat and be like, yes, bring back the knockup of the brawler and the stuns of the Guardian. We want it. They also even nerfed the knockdown, right? Of the brawler, where it's a lower chance, not 100%. I kind of understand that with the balancing, but it just feels weird. I think give the brawler back their full 100% chance to knock down. Give the Guardian back their ability to stun with the shield. I don't see, unless it's a lag issue, or if it's a raid issue, right? If it's a raid issue causing a problem in the raid for pro higher levels that don't want to stun everything, put 1 point in the tree to switch it. Problem solved. That's a much better way to deal with it, in my personal opinion. All right, Insult to Injury is now Wary Warrior, which causes the Guardian's ward buff to increase your melee damage. This is amazing. Now I gotta throw some props up to the devs. This is awesome, amazing, awesome. It makes Guardian's Ward give a 10% melee buff all the time. This is what's really helped their damage output. It also lasts 30 seconds now if you the Guardian's Ward, which means you don't have to use it as much. And this is in Blue Line too. So awesome. You do have to trait to get that 10% extra damage in the yellow tree, but the support tree, but that is awesome. Super fun. Thank you, devs. I love that. Because they removed 10% damage off the charge, which only lasted during the charge. So what they did is they gave it where it's permanently 10%, as long as you're using Guardian's Ward. Huge buff for red guards. Awesome. I love it. Now, again, as you can see through this video, I'm trying to be really fair. I don't want to be just like, yeah, they buffed the class I like to play, and boo, they nerfed it. I'm trying to be fair about things, right? I in my mind, there is a few things the devs have to think about, and I think for the player's perspective, it's good to inform the players, like I've explained, right? And have some conversation with them. They're not obligated to do everything like that, right? But a little bit would help us out. 2, it really does matter to keep a class core feeling, but you need to balance with the other roles. I get that. Okay, 3, as I draw a complete blank through the sky, fun. Fun is important. Fun is a really huge aspect. A lot of changes they've made with the Red Guard, I still think they're fun to play, but a lot of changes with charge and with removing stuns and getting rid of the FM and stuff, it's removing a lot of things that were really core fun to the class. And the game should always be most about fun. Balancing is important too. Power creep can always be an issue, right? With stat crunch we had. They don't want power creep to happen. But again, that's why I always explain, if possible, they should be buffing other classes to be closer to other things. Like they did for the Red Guard, they've buffed the damage to be closer to other classes instead of nerfing everyone to come down. People don't like nerfs. And I get it. It has to happen. I'm realistic, guys. I'm not trying to be unrealistic here. But you really need to think about the fun and also the image of what people are thinking. So again, a surprise on us, like, by the way, the FMs for Guardians is removed. The stun is removed off Shield Smash. Just like, again, the Shield Smash you told us ahead, which we were all sad about, but sad. The removal of the FM is just out of the blue, right? And that's really, it just makes people more upset. And people shouldn't get upset about it, but it's easy. We're human. We get upset. Or dwarf, or elf or hobbit, you know what I'm saying. All right, I'm getting sidetracked, so I'm going to continue on. Demoralizing Anthem no longer reduces the active cooldown of Righteous Fury. They added that temporarily, and now they've taken it away. They added that 3 weeks ago, now they took it away. I think that was kind of cool that it reduced the Righteous Fury cooldown, but apparently it was probably too strong. I understand. The max chance for Blind Rage from To the King has been reduced from 125%. There's a reason for this, but I think it's too low. But my damage does feel pretty consistent, so maybe it's just right. I don't know. 25% can be pretty rough sometimes if you're using it over and over. You're not getting Blind Rage, though. It was something that in my original rotation is like, you get it on, and you have that on, and boom. Now, to be fair, Guardian Sword gets 10% damage too, but it's still very strong when it does. I think it's 10% melee damage, 20% attack, faster attacks. So the trick is, the reason why they did this, though, is because Blind Rage now increases your incoming damage 5%, so that's a nerf to you. But you're DPSing, so you shouldn't be taking damage anyway. But your new red line trait, Reckless Attack. This is so cool. Thank you, devs. This is a cool attack. I absolutely love it. It feels fun. It's core in the system. It feels like the original Guardian playstyle with it's part of the rotation, the parry rotation. Now, again, at 25%, basically it only activates when this is active. It's a little rough, but basically how it works is it's one strong ability. It grants the skill Reckless Attack, which requires you to consume Blind Rage, meaning Blind Rage just turns off, basically. Blind Rage lasts for 15 seconds, just so you guys know. Rank 2 to 5 increases skill damage by 5%. Ranks 5, this is in the tree, causes critical hits with Reckless Attack to grant a parry response. Cool. Stagger now removes corruptions rather than sting. Let's jump down in a second. This is really, really cool. I just have to settle this for a moment. I must congratulate the devs in this one. I feel like the Guardian needed one more big skill. I really did feel like they needed that. And we know that they recently, in the previous patch 3, they buffed our bleed damage in the tree. They buffed Force Opens damage, Brutal Assaults damage, Overwhelms damage. They gave the bleed automatically on Overwhelm to cause less of an issue with having to do all 4 your bleeds and do them like 3 orders. It was really annoying. So that was a nice change of light pace. They also, another thing I got to compliment the devs on, okay? The shield skill abilities are like really fast now, where they were always kind of clinky and slow. So that's huge. That's a huge, big thumbs up, okay? That was something they did in the previous. That was awesome. It's been so much fun. But anyway, in Redline, when you're not using a shield usually, Reckless Attack is super fun. Basically, you go through your chains, and when you finally get your 25% chance, which can be a little frustrating, but you just keep doing your chain, and Reckless Attack will open as an ability you can use. You don't want to use it right away, because Blind Rage is giving you a damage buff and attack speed buff. So you have 15 seconds, do a couple more of your big abilities, your other ones, like Hammer Down and Brutal Assault, and right? And then right before the 15 seconds is done, you stab them with Reckless Attack, which actually costs you health. It's like 20,000 health at max level to use, which is a lot, but not too bad. And it crits really hard. It's like 250,000, and that's with me not having full DPS gear, so it's probably higher later. Very fun animation. You like go and you like jab it. It's really cool. So big thumbs up. That I like Reckless Attack. It's cool. Definitely fits the Guardian DPS playstyle too. Now, one thing I have to mention. Now, this is a little bit more on the negative side, but they went back to the old Red Guard system, and it does feel a little clunky. I think us Guardian mains will get used to it again, but we really liked how quickly we could do our abilities before. Maybe that was causing lag. I don't know. The devs would be great if they would say that in the notes or explain why they changed it back to the old Guardian system, where you have to have a parry response skill to open it or stuff. But you have a couple ways you can do it now. You can use it with Force Open. You can get one with Brutal Assault, I believe, with a crit, and you can get it with Reckless Attack as well. And I believe Sting you can still trade in to have a chance for it to open up. So you have a lot of options. It just feels a little slow and clunky, but the DPS looks amazing. I've tested it. I went from having a 60 DPS on the dummy to 92 to 100. That's huge. And remind you, I did not have good allies for my DPS on my guard. They're like, okay. And I didn't even I had like 75% of the damage I could have if I had better gear, if not more. So The Red Guard update seems like they're going to be a viable DPS class now in 6-mans and maybe even the raid. So that I've been asking for that for years. So devs, big high five, thumbs up. I'm very happy about that. Okay, moving on to the next thing. Stagger now removes corruptions rather than sting. This is one, okay, half joking, half truth here. I have no idea why they did this. This is just seems like a random nerf, and it's like, okay. Sting is an ability that you can move in really quickly no matter what, blue and red line. You can just instant, it's just done. It's there. It's a 2.5 second cooldown. Stagger has some other debuffs, but it also has a 5-second cooldown. So basically they just nerfed the Guardian's ability to use corruption removal. Also, Stagger has a decently fast animation that you could sort of cancel, but Sting is basically you can weave it in without any slowdown to any abilities. It's just instantaneous. I talked about it in my previous guides. I'll talk about it again later. So this just seems like a random nerf. If I were the devs, I would just move back to Sting and have a good day. Or Stagger is a 5-second cooldown. You might want to make Stagger at 2.5 seconds, like Sting. Because right now it just feels kind of like a nerf to the Guardians removal. Because now instead of doing 2 every 5 seconds, they can only do 1 every 5 seconds. And that's like their thing. They can only remove 1, but it's cool that they have that fast ability. And I liked it. It made sense. It's been on Sting for 18 years. So it's not like a new thing, right? Sting has always been the corruption removal. Did they have a corruption back in the day? At 50? Gosh, it's been a long time. Anyway, it's been a long time. So that is a really weird and kind of random change. And again, I'm not insulting the devs or anything, right? I understand. But it'd be awesome if they put a little explanation to why they did that change. Like, we felt like the Guardian is just too strong with every 2.5 seconds, so we decided we'll put it on Stagger, and then you guys can be able to use your other debuff when you do it. Okay. Right? Like, that would be a fine explanation. But I just want the explanation, right? That's all the players want. We just want to know why. Thrill of Danger no longer costs power to execute. That's kind of cool. Just a little mini buff. Cool. A charge cooldown reduced from 60 seconds to 40 seconds. That's awesome. Little buff. And then charge tracery effect reduced from 11 seconds to 3.3 seconds. Why are they nerfing charge run speed durations so much? They've done this on the champion. I think they did it on another class. They did it on the guard. Is it PvP related? Is it a lag issue? What is causing them to reduce everybody's charges like that? I would love to know. Again, this is something that I would love them to explain. Why are you doing this? Because this was fun. So I will point out, for champions, sticking up for champions and for Guardian mains, this was fun. We liked being able to run a lot. If it was an issue in PvP, can you change it for PvP and leave it for regular landscape and for stuff where you put it all back? Because they also removed the duration on the actual skill. Now they've removed it on the tracer. So now it's even lower, right? We moved 27.5 seconds with the Guardian. Now I think it's like 8. It's like huge nerf in the time. And we can't run at 70% anymore. We can only run at 60%, I think, with the legacy. It's 50 without it. That's removing fun, and I don't see a plausible thing I can stick up for besides the fact, does it cause lag? All right, or is it just too hard to change for PvP and it's too strong in PvP? Just, that's the explanation I would love to know. All right, well, we covered the Guardian. So overall, I'd like to say the Blue Guardian, still going to be amazing. I'm disappointed losing the stun, or having the option, at least it would have been cool to have the option to switch it. I really kind of bummed to lose the FM, but I think it's a balancing thing. My one friend, again, I'm going to mention him again, Zero Cool, who has beat Depths at 150 at tier 4 and 5. So he's like a resident expert at that run, and he's a burglar main, so he always did that, the Fellowship maneuvers. He was saying that the Fellowship maneuver actually got nerfed from the burglar a few patches ago too. And with this removal of the Guardian, it'll be, he said, basically impossible to run. Pretty much impossible. Maybe not impossible, but it would be darn near impossible to run Depths without that, because you need so many Fellowship maneuvers. And since the burglar can't do as much, so that means you're going to have to bring in like 2 supports, which means your damage is lowered, blah, 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 things like that. What's probably going to happen when they get to Depths with the legendary servers, they're probably going to have to rework Depths. That's my guess. If they don't change any of this back, they're going to have to rework Depths. Now, some people were arguing, oh, well, that's what was hard, because Depths, Guardians, you always had to have one Guardian. I feel like every class should have something special, and if they have one raid or one instance out of 40 cap, not 40 caps, but a bunch of level caps that they're like really good at and people really want them in the run, you could still do depths without a guardian. It was possible. It just helped that they were able to do a fellowship maneuver, because then you can make sure you have only maybe one support. You didn't have to have two supports, right? It's not terrible to let guardians or another class have something special. Like, again, brawlers with their cool knockup. I know that it's really important to balance things. You really don't want power creep to happen. These are all valid things, but also you need to balance it for fun. And I know the devs know this stuff. I'm not trying to be patronizing. But as someone who has played this game, I have like a lot of time in this game. I love this game. I really like the devs. I love the community of LOTRO. You guys are great viewers. I'm really like thinking about this stuff from the perspective of trying to be really fair in my own opinions on what I liked about the game, what I hear people tell me in the community, and from the devs' perspective on what they're trying to do. And I really just think if the devs just gave a little bit more input of their voice of, well, this is why we're trying to do this. We really want the game in general to be more like generic as in role for things. And that's nice, because I've been wanting the Red Guard, for example, to be a real viable DPS for literally like 10 years, if not more, for like raiding. And I think I could do it now. I think I could take a Red Guard in there instead of another class and be able to do the damage level of that class. That's cool. I'm really excited about that. Guardians being always stuck as the only thing you could do is tanking is kind of cool. So now you could have a tank guardian and DPS guardian in a raid. And it'd be totally viable. That's awesome. I'll have to test it to know that for sure, 100%. But from my testing with the DPS dummy, I think that is definitely the case. So that's huge. That's really positive. So again, props to the devs for that. All right, so we're getting to the end here of the video. Almost just under an hour. Thank you for listening, everybody. Thank you, devs, if you guys listened and even watched this whole video. I really appreciate it. I am definitely on the side of LOTRO. I love LOTRO. I think it's a great game. And I really think the devs do a really good job. And, I understand that they have a lot on their plates. So maybe writing a little information on why they did change is a little too much. Something like that. Maybe there's someone else that can help them out and just give out the info, right? I would be totally fine if they gave me a little list and be like, hey, this is why we did these. I was like, all right, I'll make a video and I'll tell people why. I would even help with that for free, right? But it's just, I think that's going to be really important for the community as a whole. This is not just because, I love Guardians, I'm a Guardian main. I play most of the classes, and this has been an issue I've seen with all the classes with big changes, where it just feels like people feel like they don't have input. Where I know the devs are listening, because I think things happen, and like, they must be listening to our input on the community with Discord and stuff. But I think that it would really help if they just gave them their thought on something. Even if people don't agree with their thought, they're the devs. They could do what they want with their game, right? But at the same time, I know they want to listen to the community. They want to listen to the players. And, I'm a content creator for the game, but I'm also just a Lord of the Rings content creator in general, but I love LOTRO. I'm definitely a LOTRO content creator and streamer, and I love this stuff. But again, the main core thing is I'm a player, and I love this game, and I just want to see it succeed more and more. And it's really succeeding a lot right now, and I'm really happy about that. So I'm just trying to help. So hopefully my one or two kind critiques are there. Hopefully my encouragement on good job on the Red Guard and some of the balancing things, are also good, because good job. But anyway, thank you for watching, all my viewers watching this video. Let's quickly run through these last few things. Quests. Recovery rug has been fixed. Okay. They fixed some quests. I'll let you read those if you want to. Deeds and reputation. Class deeds will no longer display a tooltip in the deed log that refers to obsolete trait points. That's just to clean up the deed log. By the way, I really like the old deed log. I'd really like it if they just changed the font colors so people can see it easier and just scaled it up. It's so nice. I like the old one better. I know we had a temporary thing of that other deed log. I really didn't like it. And I think the majority of the community didn't like it. There were some good things about it, definitely. But overall, it just felt a little unfinished. And I think the devs knew that, and that's why they changed it back. But I'd really like to see the regular deed log just scaled up with the new UI updates, because I know they're working on that. I'm really excited. So cool. And like I've warned the community, when they scale things up and change things, there were probably little glitches occasionally. Just hold your horses and let the devs they'll fix it, right? They're messing with the older engine with brand new things they've been adding to it. So just got to give them time. Instances and skirmishes. It is now possible to start private encounters from inside the housing area. Yeah! Okay, the devs are listening to the community on this one. We have been wanting this for, I cannot even remember how long. I've been wanting to be able to go into instances from the housing area for literally years and years. I think it's literally been since the beginning of the game. I don't think you've ever been able to. Well, since they added the instance finder, which was a few years into the game. This is huge. This is so big. I know you guys are like, Zollin, this isn't that big of a deal. Yes, it is. It's going to be so nice if your alts are all sitting in your house for your little box opening or whatever, and you could just get on them and immediately go into an instance with your friends and not have to map out to another place to then travel into the instance and then map back into the housing area. That's awesome. All right, treasure caves. This is cool. Reduced flurry, rend, and poison damage blades. So, ability. So that's for the three bosses. That's good. I'm trying to wait. Is this the? Yeah, I think that's the second bosses, right? Reduce molten gold hotspot damage. That's good. So it does less damage. Fix an issue where certain boss abilities would not correctly target the main threat. Okay, I gotta tell you the joke, guys. I gotta tell you it. I'm pretty sure this boss had a thing against hobbits, okay? Because whoever I was with, didn't matter if it was the tank or the healer, I felt like, or DPS, the boss would always shoot his freaking superpower explosion at the hobbit. He just hated hobbits. It's a joke. He didn't really. But that was my joke. I was like, there's no way. He always shot at our healer, Tams, right? One of our officers and kinship members. It was just like, it was uncanny. It was just like, always shot him. So now he aims at the tank with that ability, which means you should have to get on top of someone to absorb the damage. But sometimes the tank can just tank it. So that's huge. And this is a big, it makes the fight so much easier. Poison blades is now correctly classified as a poison. Cool. Reduce the number of treasure tornadoes within the fight on the all tiers. So there's less tornadoes, and not just that. Okay, here's the thing where they didn't explain as much. So I will explain more for you since I ran it yesterday. The tornadoes not only have been reduced how many, their area of effect has been reduced by like 3/4. So instead of being like this, it's like this. It's a way smaller area where it knocks you back. So you can actually, from the outside, like reach the chests. Another thing they didn't explain here, which I'm going to tell you right now, is that at tier 2, it used to be you had to do 7 of them, all of them. You have to bury them all on tier 2, like every single time. And I think it's like 12 or 13 of them. So you all have to do like 5 or not that many. You have to do like 4 or 5 each. So it's like 14 of them, I think, or something. I don't remember the exact number of chests. But I don't know why they didn't. Did they forget to write that here? Because that is a huge change. That's a big change, guys. Now, again, remember, sometimes they might have just copy-pasted some info from another thing to put it into the patch notes. It could be, honestly, they just weren't written on the other thing and they copy-pasted and it didn't happen. I'm not trying to rag on the devs with that, okay? They do a very good job with writing these things up. I'm just telling you that that's kind of a huge change. Not only are there less tornadoes, they are also a much smaller radius to hit you. And you have to do all the chests on tier 2 now, instead of just like 3/4 of them. So everybody has to be involved doing it. It can't just be one person. Because if you all do it perfectly, then you can get them to keep them at 2 stacks per round. Meaning much easier to handle. The Wailing Hold. They have made it a pushover now on tier 2. So for the boss 1 and 3, the skill stack now cleansable. However, as harder of difficulty, it starts at a higher stack. So basically you have to immediately remove the bleed. Before you couldn't remove it at all. It was a literal healing and tank check. They were like, do you have the stats or the skills to survive? Basically. The first boss was actually so hard on tier 2. Now they're kind of a pushover. To be totally honest. Devs, I'm not asking you guys to make them hard again. That's not what I'm saying. The community's like, shut up, Zollin. No, but it seems almost too easy now, personally. But again, we were so good at doing it really on the way too hard that it's probably why it feels like that. Boss 2 on Respond Add Waves should no longer spawn in solo tier 1 missions. Okay, following a wipe. Monsters, the Wailing Hold, no longer stand around waiting for orders when entering combat. Okay. A glitch they fixed. The Fallen Palace, Dark Priestess in tier 3 fixed an issue where haunting spectrals spawn it being consistent. They spawn at 10 seconds. Okay, just an update for tier 3. I haven't done tier 3 yet. We just beat officially tier 2 today, 2 weeks in. of that with a group, because it's really hard. The tier 2 of Palace is like another thing from tier 2 Wailing Hold. It's so funny. But the Fallen Palace, we did beat it today the right way, and very soundly, actually. And we were like, yeah. So good job, Kinship team. Increased cooldown on Hunter Spectral Shadow Claw. All tiers pull off Madness Far Zone is no longer avoidable by going to the very edge of the room. This was a glitch people were using. Just use the shards, guys. I'm just teasing the community. I heard about this. I was like, they found the glitch. They're like, go in the corner and it can't hit you. I mean, I get it. Do anything you can, right? Okay. But I'm glad it's fixed. Raktukul, the bloody lockup skill, no longer has an induction. That's nice. You just get locked up instantly. It was kind of annoying, even though it did bias. It did actually, maybe this is actually makes it harder because it gave us time to do shields and heals. But yeah. Items and rewards. Lore Master Traceries are now sorted more appropriately at Rivendell's archives. Good job. The elves actually did some bookwork. We have added 9 new baubles depicting the ring wraiths from the Veils of the Nine. These baubles can only be acquired through the barter on the legendary server Angmar and Mordor. Oh, interesting. Okay. So I need to get a character over there and barter and then bring him over. So does the bauble only stay on that character too? I guess it would. Yeah. Cool. I'd like to see some when they move over in the future. They won't be able to transfer until the end of the servers though. Player versus monster player Entomors. Taking control of TR monster will now... This is good for our monster play players. You guys need to know this real quick. Taking control of Tir Thrawn as a monster player will now reward you a treasure key for the location. Cool. Taking control... This is good for our monster play on Sunday nights. Taking control of Tir Thrawn as a player, being the free peoples, will now reward you a treasure key for the location. Cool. I guess it was glitched. Gates constructed TR and lugs now properly reset after the tower boss is defeated. They weren't doing that. Thank you. That's good. Adjusted Marta purchase potion store counter. Okay. Entermore's bows are now correctly set to a minimum level 160. We have replaced the reward on the monster player quest counter assault to benefit monster players, not free peoples. Correct. Wait, was the monster player quest benefiting the other side? Wait a second. Oh well, moving on. It'd be funny if that was a glitch or something. Corrected an issue where monster players could endlessly collect the item needed for the quest. Masters design... Okay, probably just flooding inventory. Correcting a typo and description of 2 feet spin. Okay, no, we don't care. It's just an appearance thing. I mean, some people might care. Many members of the Coldfell's army have undergone extensive training programs and received better provisioned rations, increasing their health. I love it that there is a lore, that there's like lore to this update. That is amazing, whoever did this. Many members of the Coldfell's armies, the NPCs, the fake player, right, that aren't real players, army have undergone extensive training programs and received better provision rations, increasing their health. That's literally like a lore meme joke within the update. That's amazing, you guys. I'd love to see more of that. That's hilarious. Coldfell Army's Captain Generals should now have health more commensurate with their tyrant counterparts. Warlords score has reduced slightly. Score criticism, crack the whip, and fight power costs have been increased slightly. Oh, bummer. A little bit of a nerf there, but for the war leader, that's all right. Landscape and adventure areas. Mounted combat skills no longer be intermittently available in Cardland and Swan Suite. They will be unavailable throughout those regions. Aww. I would like it if they'd update it. You could do mounted combat anywhere that's open fields, but I understand. Several unreachable resource nodes have been fixed. That's great. Like the ones that are flying in the sky. You walk by, you look up, and there's just a floating stone like 40 feet above you. You're like, oh, I'd love to mine that, but I can't fly. Well, unless you're Zollin with his horse, like a video I put on the channel where I glitched out and I was flying like, I don't even know. It was like 500 feet in the air above Winterhold. It was really funny. If you want to see the video there, you can check it out. In Moria's Flaming Deeps, Crossroads of Ash has found a new goat you can use to travel to New Melek, completing the quest Leaving the Deeps. Okay. Far-ranging stables in the 21st Hall has been labeled as such. Cool. Just a little bit of small updates there. Keeps correctly labeled the quartermasters. All right, sweet. Barrels in Highbolt should no longer murder players. Oh. Were barrels and Highbolts murdering players? I didn't hear about this. Should have been like front page news. Sounds like a glitch. That's funny. Z fighting in Clerger has been fixed. I don't know how that. I recognize the name, but I don't remember what that is. Running physics issues in the Wailing Hold have been fixed. Cool. The Haunt exit correct location with leaving nonsense version of space. Okay. Location: the Ironshield map now properly displays Yonder Shire in French and German for our French and German players. Cool. Shared storage added an option to the content menu to allow you to purge character-bound items from your carryalls. This is intended for carryalls placed in shared storage by transferred or deleted characters so that non-bound items and carryalls itself can be recovered. That is an awesome little quality of life update for those of us who might have made that mistake. Awesome. UI Miscellaneous fixed a bug that causes inspect display view to scale uncontrollably when altering a custom skin. Fixed an issue with open grouped social tab filters. Okay. Cursor scaling has more increments. Hurrah! Okay, that's awesome right there. That was a good one. I literally just said yesterday, without knowing this was coming, that I bet you they're going to add more increments to the scaling of the cursor. I was talking to Bujard, one of our kinship members who plays from our European time, last night. Literally just told him. I said, I think they're going to do that. Well, there it is. More increments. Cool. Hopefully they fixed the glitch too, where it kept like freaking out, and like going away. The ring wraith bobble something glitch in here at known issues. The in-game cursor, literally what I just said, is overly large when post effects is disabled in your advanced graphics settings, and then also sometimes it just disappears and then you don't have the cursor and suddenly you have your little tiny mouse from the screen. I'm assuming they know about that already, but. There are a small number of missions available in Solmadesh each day. Missions will arrive the next day. Okay, cool. That's it. That's it, my friends. I'm really excited about the raid. I'm really excited about the Red Guardian updates. I'm a little disappointed in a few of the blue updates, even though it's a balancing thing. And again, to the devs, highly recommend that you add little notes to your reasoning on big changes, and make sure you do say changes like you're moving the FM on the Guardian. And not just surprise it on everyone, because it's going to make people sad and upset. But again, it could have just been a mistake and they didn't write in the notes. But with that, my friends, have a great day in Middle-earth. Devs, thank you for all your hard work. And thank you, my viewers, for watching. Thanks to my Patreons for supporting this channel. It does take a lot of work to make these videos and talk about stuff. Get an hour and 10 minutes out of my life to do this. I love doing it. You guys are really supportive as a community of my channel. And hopefully this helps out. And hopefully I explain stuff. And if you have questions, leave comments, and I try to check those for you. Martin, hero of Khazad-Dum there. Elraandor in Zollin's company. Reb for being a royal guard. And all of these other wonderful Patreons for their support. Means a lot. It does mean a lot. There's the words I meant. Because I do this channel full time. And so if you ever have the means or motivation and want to support a dwarf with a little extra treasure, you can check it out down there in the link with no obligation. Have a great day in Middle-earth, guys. Like and subscribe. See you on the next ones. Leave your comments. Stay happy. And if you want to share the video for other people to know, cool. We got some really cool streams coming. I got a couple cool video ideas coming. It's going to be fun doing this raid. It's going to be fun. Baruch Khazad Kuzar menu. I'm at your service and your families. Stay happy, my friends. And have a great and wonderful day in Middle-earth, my dwarves, elves, humans, and hobbits. See you soon.